It's now a month since the initial Hamas attack on Israel, which sparked an immediate and comprehensive retaliation from Tel Aviv. Reports of atrocities by both sides have shocked and divided the world since October the 7th. Gaza has been under a constant Israeli blockade during this time. The UN says hundreds of thousands of Palestinians there are struggling to survive due to a lack of essentials. They're depending on aid, which is coming through the vital Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza, a crossing which the Israelis are hesitant to open for fear the aid will end up in the wrong hands. Yasser Hakim has been at that crossing since the outbreak of violence and brings us his report.
This is the border crossing which has been the center of attention in the last few days, and here is where the whole controversy is happening.
With Gaza under blockade, the Rafah border crossing is the enclave's only link to the outside world. It provides a lifeline to the stricken Palestinians as the conflict with Israel intensifies and the number of casualties and sick continues to increase. As medical facilities crumble in Gaza, the border crossing becomes even more crucial every day.
So much of the health system has collapsed now in Gaza. 66%, two-thirds of all the primary health care clinics have closed. They're not functional. 12 of the 35 hospitals are not functional. There are thousands of patients in the north of Gaza in 17 hospitals that have been ordered to evacuate. Those patients have nowhere to go. Those doctors and nurses have nowhere to go.
An inflow of badly needed aid from around the world was queuing up at the border for weeks, before Israel allowed some of it to cross on October 21st. On November 1st, Cairo, Doha and Tel Aviv struck another deal to allow for the evacuation to Egypt of foreigners and dual nationals stranded in Gaza. However, with Israeli bombs a constant threat, the escape route is far from secure. And one of them told CGTN of a near-death experience on her way to Rafah.
We were families in a convoy of cars, but it wasn't safe. The car behind us exploded. I saw their bodies fly in front of me. A split second earlier, and it would have been us.
Egypt has begun receiving injured Palestinians who are being treated in hospitals around the country, many needing immediate assistance.
We receive many cases with dangerous wounds. Children, young people and women represent 60 to 70% of the casualties.
With more people crossing the border now, relief efforts have been intensifying.
But there was a setback just a couple of days before the end of the first month. An Israeli airstrike on a convoy of ambulances carrying casualties to the Egyptian Rafah border crossing to be treated in Egyptian hospitals has led to the closure temporarily of the Rafah border.
We expected about 50 patients. Our ambulances were ready at the crossing, but we were surprised to hear they were targeted by strikes while carrying injured children. I repeat, children and women, when they moved from Al-Shifa hospital to our border. We waited till 11 p.m., but only half of them arrived and the rest were destroyed by the strike.
At the time this report was filed on November 6th, a 3-day standoff has put all humanitarian activities at the border crossing on hold. Arab countries are calling on Israel to activate a ceasefire and allow for the safe passage of wounded Palestinians. This as Hamas prevents foreigners from evacuating to Egypt unless injured Palestinians are allowed through as well.
It's been about a month since the outbreak of the conflict, but with the developments so far and statements from officials in Israel and the West, it seems that we will be bracing for a few more months of this war. This is Yasser Hakim for CGTN at the Arish city near the Rafah border crossing, Egypt.